well, it's raining in Japan again. I think it's like 35 degrees outside or something. I don't think I've ever made this many videos about video game stuff while I'm traveling, but it's just been so cold and rainy this trip. So, anyway, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it. Thanks, Super Chat, PayPal, Patreon. If you want, it helps the channel. Thank you. So, there's that Karl Jobst, is that how I say his name, and the Billy Mitchell guy thing. And I think probably, I suppose if you are a nerd, you probably have heard about that situation. I mean, well, probably, who knows, depending on how much of a nerd you are. And of course, I have a sort of curiosity about it myself because of my history in video games, especially when you think that so many people have tried to accuse me of cheating and lying and faking stuff that I've done in video games and just my real life health situation, etc. Often for those people to be actually the ones caught cheating or faking health for attention or scamming the community, which I've always said before, not that I'm well versed on the Karl Jobst guy, but I do watch some of his videos again because as a nerd I have a bit of a curiosity to it. And I've always thought that, man, I wish this guy would do a video on me because Jesus Christ, there's certainly a lot of shit. I guess the video would be too big though, but I think it would be great because, you just think, wow, so many people, every like spectrum of the fighting game community, from like Street Fighter 2 stuff, traditional stuff to Marvel stuff, verse stuff, Guilty Gear stuff, every community, if you actually did a story about me, you could expose them for just how fucking shady they are, etc. And I think it would be an interesting story, so I always thought he should do a video about it. But, I guess fighting games aren't as interesting as some of these other speed running games, but and again, I know people often would be like, well, Clayton, have you ever thought about suing? And I've said before, I have humored the idea of suing some of the people that have lied about me to the more brazen degrees. And like I said, people like Buttmonger, I have thought about suing him. And unfortunately, you have to remember, I don't have a lot of money. It does cost money to hire a lawyer, right? And people are going to be like, you're making this video in Japan. How do you have money to be in Japan? I've already said many times before. I do travel credit cards. All my money is spent with travel credit cards. And then I'm not always in a hotel. Often I get to stay for free. Somebody might house me. So that's how I do that. But anyway, obviously it does cost money to hire a lawyer. But I mean, every time I talk to a lawyer about it, like, don't like get anything like confused. Because even I've thought, like, when I've gone to lawyers, I've been like, hey, my story might seem kind of confusing, it might be kind of big, but here's all this. And a lot of them, like, you're like, your story is not as crazy as the stuff you might think it is, right? And everyone that I've ever talked to be like, there's no problem of like you winning. Like, you obviously have all this stuff, it's pretty easy to win, but the problem is, do we make enough money from this as well? Because you got to remember, the lawyer has to make money too, right? And they're like, because people like Buttmonger are in another country, like everyone that I talk to, they're like very confident that he would run after we win, right, so to speak, or I win or we win, however you want to phrase it. But it's really just like, do you make enough money? And I guess even thinking about this, and going off on my own tangent for a while, I mean, they were saying, like, because, people like Buttmonger have even shown themselves in videos, and they're like, you might think it sounds stupid, but during trial, we would have to prove that that video is not fake by hiring an expert, even though we know it's not, so even that's an extra cost, but you would be surprised. So it does cost money to sue people, even if it's like a slam dunk, so to speak. But anyway. But if anyone ever wants to support me, hey, I'll get a GoFundMe like the Karl Jobst guy. No, but... which I guess I'm going to get into now, right? You know what I mean? Hey, support me getting a lawyer. I would love to burn down the FGC for all I care, right? But anyway, so I will say, again, this was my long forward into this, excuse me, but, looking at that, I will say I am, and I guess if you don't know, the Billy Mitchell guy won, actually, against him. And I will say I am in the camp of people that I had assumed that the Billy Mitchell guy was suing the Karl Jobst guy because of the, he got caught cheating and all this kind of crap, right? And so, of course, I thought, oh, this is so ridiculous kind of thing. Like, maybe, like, how would he ever win because of all the cheating stuff he did, right? But then they said it's actually because of the Apollo legend guy killing himself, sort of comments, and that he, made the statement, something along the lines of that, implying that the Billy Mitchell guy was responsible for the Apollo guy killing himself. So I guess from that standpoint, you could say that, yes, I was under a different assumption that this trial was about something that it wasn't. However, to play devil's advocate or whatever, to say something else, I don't think it's that unfathomable to imagine that somebody would kill themselves after being harassed, and having to go through trial and the stress of all of that. That doesn't seem unfathomable that no one could ever be stressed by that situation, and then that contributes to their ultimate suicide or passing, whatever you want to say. Maybe that's just me. Now, I guess they say maybe the smoking gun is that perhaps you could say that he did say that the Apollo legend guy, had to actually pay the Billy Mitchell guy. And apparently they say that actually was false, apparently, that he never did pay the Billy Mitchell guy anything. So I guess that would be a lie then, if that's true. Again, I'm not an expert on the case, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But just, again, for me personally, I guess you could say that, yes, I do feel misled, I suppose, about what the trial was about. But at the same time, I don't feel it's unfathomable that a dude would kill himself after being so stressed about having to go to trial and doing all this stuff, etc., etc. Maybe that's just me. Now, apparently the guy also had a suicide note that I guess he had scoliosis and his wrist hurt. And I don't know the whole thing, but I was listening to someone else say that he was in chronic pain from scoliosis and his wrist hurting, and so he didn't get to play video games like he wanted to, or something like that, which seems, I don't know. I mean, I guess if that was the reason he killed himself, but I would also say, again, I don't know this for sure, right? But I would maybe if he had just gone to court, maybe he's not allowed to say anything about Billy Mitchell in the note. I don't know. I just think that from my perspective, I guess I could say I don't think it's unfathomable to imagine that something like that could happen. But I guess if he did lie about that, if he said that if he said the Apollo legend guy had to pay money and he didn't, and he said he had to get another job to help pay him, and that all that was true, I guess that's a lie. And man, that's a very expensive lie that he has to pay for now, I guess. But anyway, I guess if people were wondering what I think about that, and I guess I'm keeping the channel active because it's just so rainy and cold in Japan. There's not I mean, I don't know, I'm pretty sick as well. I got a lot of health stuff going on right now. I'm not feeling too great either, but again, normally I don't follow up on video game stuff when I'm traveling, out of sight, out of mind, but I guess I've been a little more free time to actually look online while bored, I suppose. But yeah, that's my thoughts. And again, if people are wondering my story, Jesus Christ, I would love burn down the FGC. I would love to see people expose the fighting game community. Certainly there's no lack of proof or whatever. And I know people still ask me about the technicals thing. Excuse me, I did message the technicals guys. And the technical guy actually, again, I had never seen him respond to it, but then he did respond to it in a video. And he's like, oh, no, I get messages apparently about you all the time. It sounded like, but it's like your story is just so big, I don't even know where to start, which is probably understandable. But if anything, because it's so big, I think that makes it maybe more interesting as well. Maybe, I don't know. Again, I don't ever actually expect to totally ever get vindicated for all the stuff that happened to me in the video game community. But I've always just said it's one thing if people are going to lie about me, but when I found out that people were actually profiting and, laughing about how lying about me made them money and joked about how it made them popular. And even look at that one video I made recently. I found more Discord messages of people actually planning to lie about me, that it was going to make you popular. That one guy's like, hey, I decided to lie about Clayton and start talking shit about him. And I was hoping that it would help promote me, and it actually worked. And it's like, I can't believe, so brazen that people are so obvious about that and posting all that. It's just absolutely disgusting behavior, and I can only wish the worst on all these people. And I hope one day that, everything that's happened to me, and, I hope that the entire video game community gets exposed, but maybe it's fighting games, and fighting games just aren't that interesting to get exposed on such a big level as Donkey Kong stuff and other speedrunning stuff. But, what are you going to do, I guess? Anyway, remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, so comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it, thanks. Or if you don't want to, whatever. It's up to you, right? Anyway, the end.